You're inside the press box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your hosts, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
Well, welcome to another week of being Inside the Press Box. It's Paul Tipton along with Gary Paris. Glad you've joined us here. A belated happy Thanksgiving as we get set for the home stretch of the year now, as we go into the holiday season, get set for Christmas, and obviously the start of the new year. And last Friday night, after enjoying some turkey, Gary, we watched the Fighting Indians, or at least I watched the Fighting Indians. You were on assignment with UCF that night. But what a game it was. I mean, back and forth all through the game, and who would have thunk coming down to the end that Vero Beach blocks an extra point in overtime to advance to the next round.
I got a chance to listen to you and Matt on my way home because we had a 3:30 kickoff at Tampa against South Florida, and I got a chance to listen to you two guys, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm driving along State Road 60 coming home, and I'm going to tell you right now, when you guys got excited, I think I went faster. and there with the the ebb and flow of the game. At one time, we were down by 2 touchdowns, and I just thought, well, maybe this doesn't look good. Maybe it's our season's coming to an end. And but sure enough, Lenny Jankowski and his team pulled out a win when they really, really needed it. And I didn't see all the miscues, the things that happened, from the game because, like I said, I only got to listen to the second half. But Paul, I'm going to tell you right now, that was a well played. I mean, when a team comes in, they were well prepared to play Vero Beach. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a team that Orlando Boone that has gotten better and better and better over the years. And their only 2 losses was to 2 teams that were in the playoffs. I mean, you had Dr. Phillips, their opening loss, and Edgewater, who's still in the playoffs.
Yep.
And so you compliment their team and their staff. It was going to be a tough game. I mean, people thought, well, Vero Beach should win easily. Now, you may look like it on paper, but I'll tell you, their quarterback, and listening to you guys, their whole team played a really good game. They took advantage of our miscues, of our fumbles, of an interception or whatever it may be, a turnover there, here and there. But our penalties were, again, will come back to haunt you. But give them credit. But how about the Fighting Indians in the fourth quarter found a way to come back and tie this ball game up? Was exciting to me. It
was. And, of course, you're right, Gary. I mean, when you've been around the program as long as we have, and we've watched, some of the most odd things happen in the playoffs, and you can attribute that to, playing better teams and they're making mistakes happen, or you can just call it the pressure of the moment, and, some guys just tense up and weird things happen. I don't know. I think maybe it's a combination of all of that. But yeah, I mean, you start to see some things, as an example, Bobby McMillan. I mean, he's been solid all year, was solid in this game, but he fumbles the ball, and it's just one of those things, you don't expect Bobby, of all people, to fumble the ball. But that's the kind of things that can happen and do happen in the playoffs. And we talk about this all the time. Game of football is always about overcoming and moving on to the next play. And Vero Beach found a way to do that, Gary. They found a way to overcome, whether it's a penalty, whether it was a turnover, just a blown assignment. They found a way to overcome that and move on to the next play and make things happen late in the ball game.
Yeah, especially when you get into the first and goal twice and come away with no points.
Yeah.
Come away with no points. I mean, you had a situation where you fumbled, and you had a situation where you dropped the ball. A receiver drops the ball, and then your field goal kicker, who's made 3 out of 3 on field goals, missed his first one. Yep. So, I mean, that's the adversity that you're talking about, that you were able to overcome those and fall behind 28-14 and still found a way to win the ball game.
Yeah, and Vero Beach defensively was down one of their best players, Keanu Coote, who had injured himself in the previous game, could not go. He did not dress out. He was on the sidelines, and so it took other guys stepping up. And I got to tell you, I want to really tip my hat to those three guys that were on that front line. You're talking about Taylor, you're talking about O'Neal, and you're talking about Neely. And those guys, when push came to shove, they really stepped up their game and really forced a lot of pressure on Boone's quarterback.
I think they not only need their hat tipped to them, but your linebackers did a pretty good job too, according to what you and Matt were saying. Yeah. They were all over the place.
Davon led the team with 9 tackles. He had a tackle for a loss, and along with Equan Anderson, who had 7 tackles and 1 tackle for a loss. I mean, those guys really stepped up. And when like I said, when the moment was biggest, that's when they shone the most.
I'm still listening to, in my mind, or listening to you and Matt. You called it when and you said I'd snaps gun, holds down, and it's blocked. It's blocked. Oh my good. It's blocked.
Yeah.
I'm really speeding up. I'm like, you got so excited, and I'm coming 60. I'm headed toward Vero Beach, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, yes, like that.
I'm surprised you didn't join us for the postgame show.
Oh man, I was
driving so fast.
I was wore out listening to you guys, but that was such a great. I mean, it's just fitting. I'm listening to it, and I'm thinking, okay, if there's a team I really would like to play in overtime, would probably have been Boone, because they're kind of mirrored to us. Yeah. They're not a one-dimensional team. When we played Treasure Coast, I was afraid to sit there and have a shootout with them, because they can average 5-6 yards a carry and go play smash mouth football with you, and that's to their advantage. You play a team like Boone, they're very similar to what you are. So it took something like that blocked extra point attempt to win the ball game. And did I feel bad for Boone? Yeah, I felt bad because they played their hearts out. I didn't feel bad because they lost. That's all part of football. But, somebody had to win the game and somebody had to lose. And if that's my choice, is going to be us naturally, but I said, boy, those kids, that's a long ride back to Orlando right now.
Well, it's funny how things come full circle, Gary, because, how about you go back in the middle of the season and, against Treasure Coast, we're in overtime and we decide to go for 2 and almost complete the pass, but we don't. We end up losing by 1 point. So, and I honestly, thinking about that game, there's a lot of irony too, because folks, you had Miami taking on Treasure Coast. They went to overtime. Treasure Coast scores a touchdown, kicks the extra point. They're up by 7. Miami comes back. They score a touchdown. Guess what? They went for 2.
And they
just like Vero did. But they got theirs.
They got theirs. Yeah. So, congratulations to Coach Irvin for his season. Yeah. I mean, they were, what are they, I think 10-1 or something, finished the season. I believe 10-1 or 9-1. One of them, I can't remember.
I think it was 9-1.
Okay, because I remember they finished undefeated. That was the only loss they had.
Yep.
But, that's Irvin's team did a good job this year. He needs to be proud of them. They played with they gave our district with Vero and them a lot of credibility throughout the state of Florida.
Oh, absolutely. Irvin Jones and that squad. I mean, I've been so impressed. Gary, we spent a lot of the pregame show talking about the evolution of the offense, especially in high school football, and we've been talking about all the spread, but that's been one of the few teams that has been one of these ground and pound type of teams, and you got to give a guy like that a lot of credit that he can sell that to the kids, because all these kids are watching, whether it's other high schools, college, or pro, and they watch all this spread offense and they see all these scores and all the hype and all the fun that comes along with it, and he sold them on a different type of concept, and they have totally bought in on this.
And it's not just like he's been there 9 years, I think, or 10 or 12.
I think he's been there longer than longer than that. Because he was there before Coach Jay.
11 then. So he's been there 11 years or 12 years at that school.
Yeah.
And he installed that offense. That's what he knew, and that's what Lenny knows. He knows his offense, but that's what he brought. And I think the funniest thing was in the spring a few years ago, in a spring jamboree we had, here at Vero Beach, Coach Jones introduced the spread, and he looked totally like a duck out of water.
Yep.
And but I think he did that just to throw people off, because when we started the season, he was right back to that old wing tee, and he was right back to it, and the single wing and everything. He was like, that's my offense, and that's what he does best. So, and a team we're playing. Move ahead to the game now.
Yeah, Miami Palmetto.
Miami Palmetto.
Yep.
Miami Palmetto had a great quarterback, and I use the word "had" because he got injured. He's out.
Yep.
And that young man, they chose to play in the Florida High School Athletic Association, where a lot of other schools in Miami chose to play what they call the Tri-County Championships.
Yep.
That's West Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade County. They decided there's a big playoff through that division of all the rankings of the teams and everything. So Miami Palmetto chose to play in Florida High School Athletic Association. One, they knew they had a great team, especially with the quarterback they had.
Yep.
And it transfer in a young man that's just fantastic, and a lot of these kids have signed or are committed, not signed, but committed to Division I schools across the country. You got a couple of them there on defense, mostly all defense. You got 2 or 3 going to Miami. You got one going to Florida.
Yep.
And UCF is in the running for another one down there in that area. So you're going to see a lot of talent that is just really, really superb talent. And so what does that mean for Vero Beach? That means that, and you'll hear me say this, Paul, at times, you don't have to play your A++ game to win. What you need to do is you play your game, you play it, an ordinary style of play at Vero Beach, but play it well. Don't make the miscues. Don't turn the ball over. Don't drop the ball. Don't have the silly penalties. If you can play your game well, then you got a chance to beat this team. But if you give this team opportunities and give them possessions that they steal from you by a turnover, then you're going to find yourself behind the 8 ball most of the night.
I agree. And, because of the situation that they have on offense without a true quarterback, they're going to play a lot of run game. I've watched some film on this team and watched a few different games, and that's what they do now. They're pretty much going to run. It might even look, you look at it and you'll probably go, oh, that's a version of the Wildcat, so to speak, because that's pretty much what they're going to do. Now, it's not to say they won't try to throw the ball a little bit, but it's going to be just a little bit. So you're right, Gary. I mean, Vero Beach needs to make sure that they just play their game and don't try to force the issue, because the worst thing in the world that could happen is, just say if Vero has the first 2-3 possessions where they go like a 3 and out and they're punting the ball away, not coming away with any points, and then you get long possessions by Miami Palmetto. Well, now you start to feel a little bit of the pressure, and you might try to start forcing things a little bit.
How good are they? Well, they played Dr. Phillips opening game. Phillips had to travel all the way down to Miami. They won that game 10-0. 10-0. And not a high-scoring game, and Phillips is a really balanced, good team.
Yep.
And so you can see that they played that. Then they played Lake Nonan, excuse me, thank you. Lake Nona, and it was I think, 9-6 game.
Yep.
9-6.
Yep.
Okay, and they played them up in Orlando. Then they traveled to Treasure Coast last week. And then, as you 22, well, it was 14-14 regulation game, and then they went into overtime, and it was 22-21. So they've played close games.
Yeah.
And again, they're a very solid team, but
they're very good defensively. Oh, very, very good.
That's my whole point I was going to make, is that they don't give up a lot of points. So, and I'm going to say this about Jackson Nairn. He had his best game, in my opinion, last week. I mean, this young man has gotten better and better and better as the season has gone. You know what I think it is, Paul? And to me is that he truly now understands this offense.
I agree.
And that he and Coach Jankowski are on the same page at times. Mm-hmm. I heard him during his interview with GT that he says, I knew what he was thinking. Mm-hmm. You know, when he checked off at he was yelling. He says, "I knew what he was thinking. I saw it too."
Yeah,
and that tells me I'm going, wow, that's good. That's good.
It is good. Yeah, he definitely had his best performance of the year. Finished 30 completions out of 44 attempts, 369 yards of passing, 2 touchdowns. He had the 1 interception. I think part of this key, Gary, and this is always, because it's collective. It's not just one guy. How many the receivers catching the ball? We've had in the last couple ball games, there's been some moments where they have not been able to catch the balls that were on target. They haven't been able to catch. But when you look at the receiving now, you had one guy who had double-digit receptions. You had one that was 1 reception away from being double digits. But you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, 5 guys that are actually catching the ball multiple times.
Well, you got talented receivers. You got just Bobby McMillan coming out of the backfield. He's got soft hands.
9 catches, 101 yards.
I mean, that's coming out of the backfield.
Yep.
And then you got your 2 wide receivers that I think are having phenomenal years, Bethel, and then you had Floyd, is really a second half season guy. He didn't even play hardly the first half.
11 receptions and 105 yards and a touchdown.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you, that touchdown was no bigger touchdown than one he caught.
In overtime.
Yeah. And that was a beautiful throw.
It was.
And a great catch in the back of the end zone. And you just, to have you and Matt describe it and listen to it, I could almost see it. Yep. You know what I mean? The way you guys broke it down and talked about it. So it was and Nairn laying the ball out there. But I still get over the comment that he, when he was talking with GT, he goes, I heard Coach yell, check, 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 check. And I immediately knew, because I saw it too, what he was going to check to.
And that's great. I mean,
that is a great compliment to Lenny and to Jackson, because they are on the same page, and that's why I think it makes such a great team.
They do. And so, as you would expect, okay, every week that you stay in the playoffs, you're going to play better and better teams. And this is no joke here. I mean, Miami Palmetto, even without a quarterback, is still winning games. So you cannot take this team lightly. You cannot think, oh, well, they're just one-dimensional. That makes it easy for our defense. No, you still got to go out there, just like if it was Treasure Coast or whoever that Osceola, that's a run team, you still got to stop those players from running the ball.
Absolutely. And again, they Billy ran the wing tee or the power I and for years, and you knew what he was going to run, and you had to stop it. Lenny runs the spread. Everybody knows what he's going to run, but you got to stop it.
Right.
It's not as easy. You can know what a team has, and you can say, okay, I know what you're going to do. And it's like Lenny doesn't adjust his offense to play his defense. He makes you adjust your defense to play his offense.
Yep.
And that's what he's going to do. He's going to attack you from what he knows and what he does best.
Yeah, you're right, Gary. I mean, look, these guys that are on the sidelines that are coaching, whether they're on the sideline, they're up in the box, and they can see all this stuff. They can know what plays are coming, but it boils down to one simple fact. You got 22 guys out on the field. There's 11 one-on-one matchups. And if the 11 guys on your side win their battles, guess what? You're moving the ball forward, getting first downs, and getting points.
I think Robert Leslie has done a fantastic job as defensive coordinator in the last few years. And, I'll tell you why I think that, Paul, is that his mentality is that not one guy makes a play, 11 guys make a play.
You bet.
And it takes a team to win. It takes a team to make a play. He wants 11 guys making their play. Not one guy, and then have everybody resting or making mistakes. He wants all 11 guys. And that's his theory, and that's his philosophy as a coach. 11 guys making a play.
You're right. And, this is going to be a funny stat line for you here. So, and this is what I love about with coaching and how they have to not only be, a coach, but they also have to be a little kind of part-time psychologist as well. So you got a guy out there that's making plays for you. He's being aggressive. And I'm talking about Nigel Brown.
I knew you were going to. You were talking about.
He had 4 tackles in the game. He had an interception. Had a muffed punt that resulted in a turnover. But then he blocks the extra point at the end there to help secure the win. How about that?
It's amazing, and you go back and you watch the film. I saw part of it. I saw his first one. Where he tipped that ball over the guy's head, and
wow,
and that's a no. And again, but that's a young boy that's trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
He's courageous. He thinks he's athletic enough to do it. Then you see the one where he muffed and he did that, and they recovered it down there, and that gave him that real cheap touchdown for them.
It did. And you think about Gary, and look, I'm not going to say a coach would be wrong in this, but how many times have we seen before, whether it's been on our team or we watch other teams where a guy makes a pretty blatant mistake and then he's probably sitting on the bench for the rest of the game. That could have easily have happened after that muff punt with Nigel Brown, but instead the coach just pulled him aside and said, look, man, you gotta get your head back in gear. We need you still out here on the field. And ultimately, he makes the game-saving play. If he hadn't been in that game, if coaches who just got mad at him and said, hey, you're done for the night, you can't keep making these mistakes, that would have been a costly mistake for us.
It would have been, and I tell you what, going back to the block extra point, I'm going to tell you right now, that was probably the best timed move I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, people thought he was offsides. A lot of people did.
Yeah.
But when you go back and you look at it, the ball is moving, and he is too. And nobody else is moving. He's moving when the ball is moving. He saw that ball, and the left tackle or left end, wherever he was, that position was, it was like he didn't move. And he saw Nigel Brown go right by him and never got a hand on him. That's how quick it was.
Wow.
That's how quick. And you go back, Matt and I looked at it, and he says, what do you think? I said, I don't know that I've ever seen somebody time it as perfect as that was.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't just like he hit the tip of his fingers.
Yeah.
That ball hit him right in the head.
Yeah, it certainly did. So Vero Beach wins. Whether it's by a point, 10 points, it doesn't matter. Win is a win. You survive and you move on to the next round, which means Vero Beach gets another game. It's this Friday night. It's at home. It's Miami Palmetto. Kickoff is at 7:30, and boy, oh boy, Gary, it's going to be fun.
It absolutely. And last week you had the governor, the state of Florida, come by and visit, and
that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, and was telling the coaches and telling the boys that, hey, I'm proud of you guys. You're out here where other states are closing down. You guys are out here. You're doing things, and you've played your season and all like that. So, you're not only winning ball games, but you're beating COVID too. So keep doing what you're doing, and good luck to you guys throughout the rest of the season. I mean, he didn't have I'm picking Vero to win. He just he had a chance, and I'm sure he went over to the other team and talked to them too. And but we have our Governor DeSantis. That's huge. I have no idea. I didn't even know it till you guys were talking about it, that he was even going to be in Vero Beach.
We did not know until we got to the stadium. They had kept it quiet for for security reasons. And so when we got there, we got word that he was going to be there at the game.
Did the coin toss.
Yeah. It was kind of cool.
Yeah,
really neat situation there. I mean, I think that might be a first at a Vero game.
That I'm aware of ever, and I've been around here a little longer than you have, just a little.
Yeah, about the time they formed dirt, I think, on the field, something like that. But so we got a game Friday night, Gary. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully Vero Beach can come out with a win. You know, I don't even want to look at what's going on in the rest of the brackets and the potentials.
One game at a time.
You just got to take this game. If Vero Beach can move on, they will be in the Final Four of the state. Yeah. Final Four. It's been a long time
since that's happened.
You got it, buddy.
And this is a hurdle that Lenny would love to get over right now.
Sure.
And it would be one of these but you're going to have to play the best teams in the state of Florida from here on out.
Yeah.
There's 8 of us. There's 8 teams left, and you're one of the 8 best teams in the state of Florida. And you'd like to be in that Final Four. That really puts you in echelon.
Yeah.
Gives you a little better branding for your program and your school. But you got to go out and win.
Yep.
And it starts Friday night and starts with what a great crowd. Well, I know we can't add any more, but boy, I tell you what, you could hear that crowd over the radio the other night. That was fun listening to you and Matt do the game, and I'm excited about doing it with you being back in the saddle again.
Yeah, I look forward to having you there, and it's going to be a fun time. Kickoff is at 7:30. Our coverage will begin at 6 p.m. with countdown to kickoff. Looking forward to it, and as always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the press box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.